57 yards total for Josh Jacobs. Really a good game for him overall between the rushing attempts and the passes. So he touched the ball 26 times in this game. All right. Welcome to Just the Stats NFL, the show that covers the NFL statistical leaders from the all-time greats to the current players leading the NFL. I'm Ernie Jennings, your host. And in this podcast, we're looking at the crazy game between the Green Bay Packers and the Dallas Cowboys on Sunday Night Football in Week 4. What a game. Ended up tied 40-40 in overtime. So they couldn't even find a winner even after 5 quarters of football. All right, let's take a look at the game. There's only one top 10 in this game, and that is Jordan Love. Going into the game, he was 7th all-time in Green Bay Packer history in passing TDs with 65. He needed one to catch Ernie Jennings, who played from 1930 to 1940. He had 66. Jordan Love ended up with 3 touchdown passes in this game to move up to 68 total. Next up for him, which will be a while, is another old-timer, Tobin Rote, who played from 1950 to 1956. He has 89 touchdown passes, so it'll be a while. Love still needs 21 touchdown passes, so if he gets it, it'll be toward the end of the year, probably. All right, that's the only top 10 in this game, so let's take a look at the game. Like I said, it was a close game throughout. Halftime, it was 16-13. Little did you know what was going to happen even after the third quarter, 23-20. So it was very close. And then all of a sudden in the fourth quarter, back and forth. Green Bay pulling ahead, then Dallas, then Green Bay, then Dallas. And then Green Bay is able to tie it up right at the end of the game of the fourth quarter. And then in overtime, they each had a shot at it, but no one could come up with more than a field goal in the time allotted. And again, Green Bay, right at the end of the game, end of the overtime, got the field goal to tie the game, and it ended up in a tie. Let's look at some of the numbers here. Green Bay, 32 first downs, 26 for Dallas. Net yards, Green Bay, 489 net yards, Dallas, 436. Going into this year, wow. And then you thought picking up, now my mind went blank here, Micah Parsons. The Dallas Cowboys, the Green Bay Packers defense was already good. You expected to make it even better. And yet they gave up 436 yards to Dallas. So I don't know what to think about this Green Bay defense at this point in time. All right, some of the other numbers in this game. Dallas Cowboys penalized 11 times for 95 yards. It always kills you with the penalties. It can make it so difficult to win with that many penalties. But on the other side, Green Bay had a fumble that they lost. So it kind of counteracted some of the penalties that Dallas had. Third downs, Green Bay, excellent. 10 out of 14. Third down conversion, 71%. That's highest one I've seen so far this week. Dallas, 4 out of 11 for 36%. They both went for it on fourth down once and made it. And the time of possession in this game was very close, 35.5 for Green Bay to 34.5 for Dallas. So very close as far as that goes. Now, looking at the quarterbacks, again, very close, which kind of explains, in a way, how you end up with a tie here. Jordan Love, 31 completions on 43 attempts for 337 yards, 7.8 yards per attempt. He had 3 touchdowns, no interceptions, was sacked 1 time, had a quarterback rating of 118.1. Now, Dak Prescott also had 31 completions, but he did it on 3 fewer attempts. He had 40 attempts. 319 yards. He averaged 8 yards per attempt. He had 3 touchdowns, and he was sacked once. So you have the same amount of completions. Their yards were different by only 18 yards. Yards per attempt was different by only 0.2. They both had the same amount of touchdowns. No interceptions for either one, and they were both sacked once. Dak Prescott ended up with a quarterback rating of 124.9. So they both had good games in this contest. Now, looking at the running backs, Josh Jacobs, you thought he might have had a little bit better game than this. They did run him a lot, 22 carries for 86 yards, 3.9 yards a carry. He did have 2 touchdowns. So as far as fantasy goes, quite a game. The 86 yards plus the 2 touchdowns, plus 4 more receptions as well for another 71 yards. So actually a big game, 156 yards total. 57 yards total for Josh Jacobs. Really a good game for him overall between the rushing attempts and the passes. So he touched the ball 26 times in this game. Now, Emmanuel Lewis, as far as running backs for Green Bay, also had 8 carries for 44 yards, 5.5 yards. Jordan Love himself, 3 carries for 28 yards. And wide receiver Matthew Golden had 1 carry for 5 yards. For Dallas Cowboys, Javonte Williams continues to look impressive. 20 carries, 85 yards, 4.25 yards a carry, and he did have a touchdown as well. Miles Sanders, 2 carries for 8 yards, and this is really all. I mean, he had 2 carries. No one else had more than 1 carry. So really, this is Javonte Williams carrying this Dallas Cowboy backfield. All right, let's look at the wide receivers for Green Bay. Romeo Doubs, 6 receptions on 8 targets, the most receptions. He had 58 yards, only 58 yards, but all 3 of Love's touchdowns were to Romeo Doubs. So big game for him, fantasy-wise. Tucker Kraft, 5 catches for 56 yards. Matthew Golden, one of his best games, 5 catches for 58 yards and 6 targets. So fortunately, no touchdowns to go with that. Like I said, Josh Jacobs, 4 catches, 71 yards. That's impressive. 71 yards. His longest was only 28. So really good game there for him. Emmanuel Lewis, 3 catches for 37. And see, this is the Green Bay way. I mean, if you had Dobbs, great, because he got all the touchdown passes. But otherwise, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 players, 10 receivers caught a pass in this game for the Green Bay Packers. Romeo Doubs had the most with 6. That's just the way they do it. I mean, 31 receptions, 10 different players caught a pass. It's just so hard to pick who might be the guy. But it does, at this point, Tucker Kraft is definitely a tight end you might play. But it could be Dobbs. Next week it could be Golden if he continues to push himself up there to be the number 1 guy. But it'd be tough to get by Dobbs. But we'll talk about that more in pregame for the next week. All right, looking at the Dallas Cowboys receivers, George Pickens picked up quite well, took over with Lamb being out. He had to be the number 1 guy, and he did a good job. 8 catches, 134 yards, and he had 2 touchdown passes. So really a big game for him. Jake Ferguson continued on with playing as number one tight end, that is. 7 catches for 40 yards and a touchdown for him as well. So he's still being targeted quite a bit. 7 catches on 7 targets. George Pickens, 8 catches on 11 targets. So those are going to be the 2 players that dominate for a while Lamb is out. Now, Jalen Tolbert had 4 catches for 61 yards on 6 targets. Not bad either. Those are your top ones. Now, Javonte Williams, to go along with his 20 carries, had 3 receptions for 15 yards on 3 targets. Miles Sanders, along with his 2 rushing attempts, had 2 catches for 17 yards on 2 targets. All right, let's look at the defenses. Wow, well, I wouldn't expect too many big numbers here, honestly, except for the fact that they had an extra quarter to rack up some numbers. But for the Green Bay Packers, Quay Walker had 11 total tackles, 6 solo, 5 assists. And then Evan Williams, 10 tackles, 5 solo, 5 assists. So those are your top 2 Green Bay Packers. Micah Parsons, not racking up many tackles. He did have the lone sack in this game of Prescott. Kind of interesting that he would be the one to get the sack since he just came from the Cowboys. But that was the only sack. He only had 3 tackles, 1 solo. So really a quiet game. And I'd like to see, I need a check to see how much time he played in this game. How many minutes in the total game did he play? I don't know. Looking at the Dallas Cowboys, Jack Sanborn had the biggest game, 11 tackles, 6 solo, 5 assists. That was your top guy there. James Houston only had 2 tackles, but he did have a sack of Jordan Love in this game. So that's a look at your defensive players. And honestly, there wasn't that lot of defense, no interceptions, 1 sack for each team. And that's about it. So this game ends in a tie. Green Bay Packers 40, Dallas Cowboys 40. The Green Bay Packers now lead this series 22-17, and they've now thrown in a tie to top it off. First tie between these 2 teams in the history of their games. Next up for the Cowboys, who are 1-2-1 now, are the hapless Jets, who are 0-4. So they'll be looking to get their record to 500. They could go to 2-2-1, but the Jets are going to be a tough team. They've been playing tough. They're just not coming out on the right end of any of their games so far. So we'll see how the Cowboys do after this game. 5 quarters, quite a challenging game against Green Bay. Now they've got to go to the New York Jets to play. So this is an opportunity for the Jets to come out with a victory. As far as the Packers go, they have a bye, so they can take a break after that game in Dallas. All right, that is a wrap for this look at the Packers-Cowboys game. I'll be putting out another podcast, another game in just a few minutes, actually. But this is a wrap for this one. Appreciate it if you'd subscribe. You can find me on YouTube at Just the Stats NFL. You can find me on your podcast sites at Spotify or Apple or any of your podcast apps. If you can't find it, let me know and I can make sure it gets there. And you can contact me at justthestatsnfl@gmail.com. Appreciate you listening. Please like and subscribe. And that is it for this podcast. I am out.